Joining us right now to discuss how the new regulatory environment will impact stablecoins. Jeremy Allaire is here. He is the co-founder and CEO of Circle. You're here in Manhattan. You're not at Mar-a-Lago this morning.
No, I'm right here with you guys.
So what do you think is going on here? We're all trying to understand. Obviously, we're looking at Bitcoin as sort of an indicator, signal of everything. You're in the stablecoin business. This idea that the Trump administration is going to embrace crypto means what? What does it actually mean in reality?
Look, I think there's a bunch of pieces to this. I think the first is we've gone from an administration who, on many fronts was either outright hostile to or constraining of, this industry, to an apparent administration and broad bipartisan support in Congress that actually wants to get good laws on the books, that wants to be constructive in rulemaking in the agencies, wants to get more of the market active and growing, get banks involved. And so it's a pretty dramatic shift from that perspective.
But what is it, when I say what does it mean in practice?
Yeah.
So you have a less hostile and maybe even embracing administration, but what does that mean in terms of new regulations, things that could be done tomorrow that couldn't have been done yesterday? Well,
I think I'll start with stablecoins, which is there is not yet a federal law that defines dollar stablecoins as legal electronic money in the U.S. financial system. Once we have that, then every company in the world, every public corporation, every financial institution all around the world will be able to treat this as digital cash, use it as collateral, use it to settle transactions. Its ability to be used on a mass scale in society grows dramatically. So that's a huge one, obviously. And then in crypto markets, there's sort of who looks over exchanges. That's sort of one thing. But the big thing is we need statutes that define what these different types of digital assets are.
Right.
And so digital tokens are a huge innovation, and they're an innovation in economic incentives and others. And so we need laws that say, here's what a digital token is, here's how you offer one, here's how you distribute it, here's how end users can use it, whether it's a game or whatever it is. So that's really the key
I have a different question. It relates to Bitcoin, but it definitely deals in crypto, which is there's a letter floating around in the last 48 hours. It was a letter about the state of Texas, which I guess is trying to do a Bitcoin strategic reserve of its own.
Yep.
And the letter suggests that it is potentially unconstitutional for a state to try to create its own money, but makes a larger point, which is that Bitcoin, if successful, effectively undermines the dollar. And so if you are the president of the United States or an administration that represents this country, and you want to have your own currency, whether you actually should be advocating for Bitcoin.
The dollar is unfortunately undermining itself. And I think that the dollar will always be necessary to convert Bitcoin into. I mean, that's never going to go away.
I got strong views on this.
Okay, give them to us.
I'll give you my strong views. So first, agreeing with you, Joe, first and foremost, we have to focus on the strength and competitiveness of the dollar first. So, we have a situation in the world where, while the dollar is the reserve currency, there are lots of places in the world that don't want the dollar to be that currency. And so first, we need full reserve digital dollars, like stablecoins, to become a mass export product of the United States. And if there's going to be a major currency of the internet, make sure it's a digital dollar. That's one. The second is that the fundamental issue that we have here is a sound money issue. We don't have sound money principles embedded in our monetary system right now.
Well, not anymore.
You don't. So you have virtually every government in the world is, I won't say they're all bankrupt, but they're in massive debt. The United States has an enormous amount of debt. Its fiscal house is not in order.
I'm not disagreeing with that. I'm just wondering if you care about the sovereignty, if that's a word, of your currency, do you want to actually be promoting another one?
I believe that the world more broadly needs to operate on sound money principles, on full reserve money, on an Austrian economic philosophy. Exactly. And as part of that, I believe, like in the past, you had a portion of what backs fiat money be sound money.
And you can do it again.
You can absolutely do it again.
But Jeremy, I had a different question. So You don't want to use Bitcoin because you don't want to buy a pizza that is worth $1 billion 10 years from now. Because in Bitcoin, since it's 21 million, as it continues to be produced, and we go through the halving, sooner or later we
Great
get
store value, not a good medium.
Right, but what is how big does the eventual market cap get of Bitcoin, and can it get to a point where you can say it's basically going to stay here in terms of value? What would it be, $1 million? I don't know what you think it would be. Then it could be used as currency because it wouldn't be fluctuating as much. So
yeah, I've always taken a very long view on this.
What's the terminal value of Bitcoin taking into account 21 million?
Well,
can be.
If you look at kind of M1, M2 aggregates, and you sort of say, and then you take gold or other things in addition, that's like $120 trillion of value.
And what does that deserve? What could Bitcoin?
So I think the question to me would be, if there's a reduction in the number of fiat currencies in the world, and more fiat currencies also have some component that is reserved against a digital gold type of instrument, that monetary base could be quite dramatically higher.
And then, can you just give me a number?
I haven't done the math, but
because if it's $1 million, you wouldn't want to use it if it's going to $2 million.
Let me ask you a different question. So you don't have a number.
He's not going to give us a number. I'm not going to give you a number.